Hello, my name is Dr. Jean Aertker, and I'm here to talk to you today about the role of a mentor in teaching you about health policy. I've been a nurse practitioner for over 36 years, and one of my passions is to be involved with health policy, not only in my local level, but also in the state and the national level. Health policy, as you know, is very important to nursing, and we always have those courses in school where we have to read the textbook and do some activities to learn about health policy. But I can tell you that the greatest way to learn about health policy is actually to find a mentor and have that mentor teach you and go with you to learn about the local, state, and national policies that are going through the legislature. So health policy is a process, and with any kind of process, it takes time to learn that and master those techniques. We want to do health policy, for the most part, to improve health for the patients that we serve. But also, policy is very important in our educational process as we look for ways to fund education for nursing and for healthcare, to find ways to fund healthcare itself for the patients that we take care of, and also so that we can have a robust future in looking at the health needs and looking at health policy as where our government is going to be able to support the demands on the healthcare system. So how did I get into it? I guess like many nurses and nurse practitioners who got involved in health policy, it's out of desperation and frustration with the current status quo. And we wanted to see some things get changed, particularly in my state, to get the restrictions removed from our practice. So when you go to look at how you can be an advocate and be a person who can make some change in policy, it usually comes, as they say, from your own practice. And that's exactly what happened with mine as I went to Tallahassee in Florida with the problems that were affecting me, and these were signature problems for forms that I wanted to be able to sign without having to search for a physician to be able to sign those. So many of these restrictions that impact all other states have to be changed at the policy level, at the legislature level. So with that, we became very involved in writing bills and asking for these restrictions to be moved. And like anything in legislature, it takes a long time for those things to get done. So as I said, a lot of the things that we take to the legislature come from our practice, things that we need to get done to help our patients. And the one thing about policy is that you can start and be involved and get engaged in health policy with a mentor at any point of your career, whether it be as a student or if you're brand new out of school and you want to learn about the restrictions and how to remove them, or later in your career when you have the time and your ability to be involved and engaged more is open to you. So again, health policy is one of those things you can do at any time in your career. But I do recommend that you have a mentor. So how did I get into policy? I guess it actually started, like many of us, where we were introduced to it very early on. My parents were both involved in health policy, or in politics, actually. And I grew up in a home where we had a bipolar activity with the parents, one of one party and one of the other party. My father was also an elected official. It was an extra job to do, and he was a tax assessor for our small community, where people either loved him or hated him. My mother, however, was more of a policy person, and she was in education and later on became a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. for the state and education for community colleges. That's where I kind of got my bug for, wow, this is pretty neat to see the legislature at the Capitol in progress and see the changes and just be in awe by all that goes on in Washington, D.C. And I thought one day that would be a great opportunity for me. But my path went to nursing and then to the military. And when I finished with my military career, I settled down in Tampa, Florida to become a nurse practitioner. It was there that I saw that you can do a lot of things as a nurse, But when I was starting as a nurse practitioner, it was very difficult. A lot of restrictions. People didn't know the role. This was in 1984. And so I went on to work with my associations. I joined the Nurses Association, and I have to give them credit for early on teaching me how to be an advocate for nursing, how to learn to go and talk to legislators, how to offer yourself as an expert in the area so that they can call upon you when you have questions about nursing or healthcare or anything that you are the expert at. So going to your associations is a very good thing to do and have a mentor. And I was fortunate. My very first meeting that I went to, a nurses meeting in Tampa, Florida, I was elected as the legislative chair. I had no clue what I was going to do with that because I had no idea what it was about. But I was fortunate to have some good, experienced nurses who carried me through that. I also have to say that one of my great mentors, I think early on to get me involved with health policy, was my old professor, Dr. Imogene King, who any of you remember is a theorist. But she was an expert in being an advocate for nursing and for patient care. And what she said to me very first day of class was, "And what are you doing for the profession?" And you know what? I couldn't answer her, because I wasn't doing anything for the profession at that time. And I thought, I better get moving. So that led me to my FNA, Florida Nurses Association, doing advocacy and trying to get involved there. But as you know, timing is everything. When you're a nurse practitioner, you have a lot of other responsibilities: family, children, life, other responsibilities. And so that's what I'm saying, that when you're ready to be engaged in health policy, seek out those who can come and help you to mentor you and help you get involved with it. I was fortunate in 1985 as a very new nurse practitioner that I went to a meeting in Orlando, and I saw posted on the wall a little note that said, "Isn't it time to start a national nurse practitioner organization?" And I thought, yeah, it is, because we had so many barriers within the states. So I went to that meeting and I joined as one of the charter members of AANP. And when AANP began, we had some great leaders there, and I learned from them, particularly Dr. Jan Towers. She made this complex, bizarre information about health policy, which to me was a very dull topic back then, very exciting, that she could actually tell us about what was going on in Washington, D.C., invited us to special sessions to learn how to go talk to legislators. And I have to admit, I was scared to death because I'm basically an introvert. And I thought, wow, this is neat. And she taught us how to talk to them and get our elevator speech ready and be prepared. So mentoring is that process, and sometimes we're not ready for it. So you need to have someone to work you through that information session where you become deeply involved and analyze the policy that you're going to be talking about or trying to fix. It could be climate change. It could be the water in your area. It could be anything environmental. It could be nursing. It could be things that are happening that we have an opportunity as nurse practitioners to change. So in 2002, I helped start our state nurse practitioner organization. And this was a way to network with all the nurse practitioners in the state. And we were struggling to get Controlled Substance Authority at that time, and we sought to, to get full practice authority. So with that start of that statewide organization, we were encouraged to mentor and bring new people into the organization. So I have to admit to you, being part of an association is very important. Being a part of AANP as your national association is very important when you're trying to do advocacy work. My other mentor that got me interested was Dr. Loretta Ford, the co-founder of our association. Dr. Ford, the exceptional woman that she is, made our profession nursing. And she says, your profession is nursing, but your role is a nurse practitioner. And she never wants you to forget that. So with that, she came up one day with a concept that I want to share with you. It's called the NP Force. And that's how I see mentoring nurse practitioners, because we're building an NP force full of folks who can do advocacy work and talk about this and make this part of your being to be an advocate. So the NP Force is this persona that we will hold as we remember Dr. Ford and all that she has done as an advocate for nurse practitioners. This is a rally to call and join in to be part of the NP Force and be a health policy advocate. We want you to engage with others. We want you to grow. And our mission is still, as it has always been, to build a strong professional workforce, a strong professional NP Force. And we want you to feel valued and needed. And this is why it's very good to find a mentor that you can work through this. With Dr. Ford, her wit, her compassion, and her dedication that she's had the lived experience is something we should all learn from and read all her information that she shared about how she struggled to work to get policy change. And mentoring really works best if you know the person that is working with you or being able to be a mentor with you. I like a closeness between myself and the mentees that come to me. Sometimes I choose them, and sometimes they choose me. But it's a way for me and the mentee, the person who wants to learn about health policy, to work together and work on their goals. I have my own goals, but I think as you are learning this, you need to develop what you want to do and seek that mentor that can help you with that. So as Dr. Ford would always tell you, crisis, it's a terrible thing to waste. And right now, we see a lot of crisis in America and in our health professions. So with nurse practitioners, we know that, as Dr. Ford will say, political passivity is passé. So be willing to be a mentor and make a difference, because mentoring means sustainability for all of us. It's the way that we're going to preserve the nurse practitioner role. Thank you.